It's been a week of huge news for Manchester United. First of all, the decision to sack Eric Ten Hag. We sort of picked over the bones of his time at Manchester United over the last couple of years. They've made the decision now, and they've made the decision to change. What are your thoughts?
Well, like everybody else out there, obviously you always feel for a manager losing his job, but he was under huge pressure. Results haven't been great, not scoring enough goals. His results over the last year or two in the big games, not great. League form, yeah, disappointing. You always are. But it's a new start, new manager coming in a couple of weeks. You always wish him well. Big challenge for him, trying to get Man United back, competing at the top of the table. It's a big ask, but obviously you wish him well. But you always have sympathy for a manager losing his jobs. And ultimately, I think whatever about the board, the players let them down by their efforts, not being good enough.
Gary, in terms of the new ownership, they decided to stick with Eric Ten Hag over the summer, despite looking at other managers. They've now, at this stage in the season, we're only just into November, have decided to make the change. This appointment of Amorim, when he comes in on November the 11th, does this have to work for them? Is this a big decision for them as well?
I mean, look, it depends. I mean, the owners have not gone anywhere for the last, obviously, 20 years. Obviously now Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos have come in. It's their first appointment. Saying it has to work feels a little bit desperate, but it'll have to go better than it has done in the last 10 years. The last 5 permanent managers have failed. They've not been able to get the best out of the players, either the ones they've inherited or the ones that they've signed. It's become a graveyard for players. I've said that before, and you'd be really sort of, a health check around signing for the club, unless it was Manchester United and you feel that the club can get back to its heights that it has reached previously. So it's an important appointment, that one that they wouldn't have wanted to have made. They would have wanted 12 months, I think, to embed in all the changes that are happening around the club. There's huge change off the pitch and on the pitch in the sporting department, but they've had to make the decision because the results have been shocking, and as Roy said, the performances of the players have been terrible under him, and when you have that combination, it ends one way.
I mean, you alluded to them a little bit earlier, Frank, but Roy, in terms of what he has to do with this squad of players, is it about major surgery? Is it about big changes? Or is it about starting to make small changes at the beginning?
Well, at the start, obviously, it'll be small changes. He'll have to get used to working with the players. We obviously don't know really what kind of personality he is until he gets in. His CV looks obviously neat and tidy. Listen, the Portuguese isn't the strongest league out there, but you can only beat what's in front of you. The challenge will be, of course, getting players in. We make the point about there's a few players in the United team in big positions who can't run, right? Which is a big problem. But they also have players in the team who don't want to run, or when they do run, they don't run hard enough, fast enough, or long enough. So he has to get that into the dressing room, that mentality. And for the players who aren't doing it, you have to try and move them on, which is difficult because they're on long-term contracts. In terms of a playing style, obviously, he's always been linked with playing 3 at the back, whether that's the way Man United want to go, because they're struggling to defend as a back 4. So I think getting players into that team, getting some spirit and some fight into it. The lack of goals is a huge problem for Man United. You look at the league club there, and every time I see after even 9-10 games, -3 goals for Man United, it's hard to read. So it's a huge challenge for him. I think the bottom line is, we look at the managers who've come and gone over the last few years. Ultimately, they've not won enough football matches. Whatever's gone on, they've all been at maybe 54, 55%. Mourinho was on about 58. But the problem is Pep's across the road. Pep's over 70. So he'll have to try and get over 60% wins to try and get a little bit close to Pep. That's if Pep hangs around. So ultimately, he has to win some more football matches than the previous managers, who all done decent jobs, and a few of them won some cups and whatever. But clearly, that's not good enough for the owners. They have to be competing near the top. They have to be certainly in the Champions League, whatever, for financial reasons. So it's a big ask. You wish him well. We wish him well, but it's going to be huge.
Gary, as Roy said, he is known for playing 3 at the back. It's something that you've mentioned in terms of Manchester United. So do you feel they have the squad that can play the way that he will want them to play?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a personal fan of 3 at the back. I've never played 3 at the back in my life for United. But the fact of the matter is, you look at the centre-backs and full-backs that they've got, you just don't trust any of them in a pair, and you don't trust any of the full-backs to defend one-on-one. So I think the 5 would give them some extra security, I suppose. But he has to get the best out of the players. I think the players do need to take responsibility of what's happened in the last 10 years, but the club have signed a lot of players that other clubs wanted, and when those players have arrived at Manchester United, they've deteriorated. Why is that? Now, it can be the coach, it can be the players, it can be the environment, whatever, it's too big for them, whatever we think it is, that's got to change. If he doesn't change that, he will fail the same way and the rest of them have, because the managers that have come here that have been tried and trusted, who've been successful, there are players who have come here with great potential, and ones that you thought at the time, they'd be good signings for the club, and they've not turned out to be. Only really Bruno, I can think of, in 10 years, has signed for the club and done more than I thought he would. I can't think of any other player, please correct me if I'm wrong. And that's 1.8 billion quid's been spent, by the way, in the last 10 years. So that's one thing that has to change. And then in big matches, they're always sat on the edge of their own box. They play like the underdog. And that's certainly in the last 6-7 years. Maybe not under Van Gaal, but in the last 6-7 years, you've got to then run 60, 70, 80 yards to score a goal. You know, they've got to get up the pitch, get the back four up the pitch, make sure they're a lot higher, win the ball higher up the pitch. They've then got to keep the ball in the attacking third of the pitch. That's how you dominate and control games, and that's how you win leagues. It's very difficult to win the league on a counter-attack game. You can play counter-attack in certain parts of matches, but Manchester United are not an underdog. And to be fair, Arsenal, Liverpool and City, they dominate games, they control games, and that's how you will win a league. They're miles ahead of United at this moment in time. But there are some things there that are nothing to do with winning, that if he doesn't get right, he won't win. And we kept saying for Eric Ten Hag, you know, what's the style of play? Amorim has got to get a style of play that integrates 2 or 3 of those things I've just said, or else he won't win.
And this group of players, don't dig in. When the going gets tough, they go under. They go under too easily, and they concede a little late goals. So that's certainly not a good reflection on them group of players as professionals, as characters, and as decent lads.
Right, why all those lads that are signed over 10 years, and there's been some really big signings and some good signings, going back to Di Maria, who's a fantastic player, and lads who I've thought, God, that's a really exciting set. Why have none of them excelled? What is it? Is it the manager? Is it the environment? Is it the players? What is it?
Obviously, it must be a combination of all that. Obviously, we go back to whatever goes on at the training ground. We go back to the manager. We go back to the bit of pride as a players. We've all done it. And people look at the manager, but I don't care if you're playing in front of 80,000 or 80 people. You run. You've got to run in this game. And this team doesn't run. And that's a big problem. Lack of talent as well. Again, we say that all the time. We go, they got really talented players. But if you're not going to run, you're going to get nowhere fast. You have to look at Pep, what Pep's done across at Man City and whatever. And Pep, the great managers get brilliant players who are very wealthy and have won big titles to keep going at it. The key is the consistency. That's what makes great players and great managers. Turn up week in, week out. And this group of players, even today, we don't know what we're going to get here with Man United.
And even if like Pep and Klopp are amazing over the last 10 years, let's say we forget those two, and he just does what Unai Emery's done at Villa, or the guys at Brighton have done over the last few years, and get the team looking like they're a proper team and that they're engaged again. Because the first step's not going to be from where they are to the title. The first step's likely to be almost like a bridge. And that's mean that they're going to have to basically sort of make steps. It took, Jurgen Klopp 4 or 5 years. It might take Amorim 4 or 5 years to succeed. But you've got to have something to hang your hat on.
Well, you won't get that, Simon. You won't get that.
No, I'm just saying it. Yeah. But he's got. If there's progression, I mean,
he won't get 3 or 4 years.
No, but even Eric Ten Hag got 2.5 years nearly.
But his contract, he's only signed a 2.5-year deal. The manager.
Yeah, I think he'll get. Look, they're going to give him some time, I would imagine. And to be fair, I wouldn't let him sign anybody in the January transfer window. I'd say, look, let's see what these players can do under you for 8 months and work out. Because I don't believe.
You sell before you buy.
I don't believe they're all as bad as we're looking at every single week. I think some of them are better than that. They just haven't got confidence, they haven't got belief, they're not being given a way of playing. I'm not letting them off the hook here because, to be fair, they've been shocking. But I do believe some of them are better. We need to find out which ones can be on the train moving forward, because you can't just keep getting rid of players all the time and get rid of managers all the time. You have to hang in there with some of them and say, can we make Garnacho into a great winger? Can we make Rashford a 25
but
goals?
Man United have hung in there.
Or maybe that's what he wanted for 2.5 years. Listen, good luck with that.
I like the fact it's fresh because, to be fair, they've tried a lot of other things. I like the fact it's fresh, and to be fair, he comes in with sort of like a clean bill of health. There's no sort of previous attachment. I know Ten Hag was a little bit like that. But one thing he will get unbelievable support. The one good thing in the last 10, 12 years, the fans have been incredible all the way through with every manager. So he's going to get amazing support, irrespective of the results for the first few weeks, months. They're going to back him, and they'll actually expect more of the players than him in the first few months. So the players now, the spotlight is on them, and they're playing for their futures, because I'm sure he'll be quite harsh at the end of the season. He's got 2.5 years to try and get this right. He's not going to hang around. I mean, to be fair, you wouldn't hang around, would you? You just need to get rid of the ones that you don't want in straight away. And that'll be at the end of next season, though. End of this season, sorry. It's 8 months before he can change that.
I think we'll be talking about this a lot more at the end of the game between Manchester United and Chelsea. Gary, you're going to leave us now, but we're leaving on a fairly upbeat... Well, didn't like to say.